Yo, what is really good, my dudes? Today is Monday, June 25th, 2018, and we got another RuneScape update for y'all. Today we see the release of the Temple of Aminishi, the first elite dungeon. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. Let's go.
Cats is the illest. What you talking about, Willis?
Alright guys, like I said, this is the first of 3 elite dungeons to release this year. This one being the Temple of Aminishi, located on, as you would expect, Aminishi. The only requirement to start this or partake in it is to have completed the Impressing the Locals quest to have access to the Arc region. There are a bunch of Slayer monsters in the dungeon that require a really high Slayer level. However, any monsters within the dungeon do not have a Slayer level requirement, so you do not need to have the Slayer level to kill those if they're in the Temple of Aminishi. So literally the only requirement is to have completed the Impressing the Locals quest. This is content that's available for both regular and Iron Mana modes, and you can go solo, duo, or trio. It uses the grouping system, so utilize that if you want to form groups and take on the Temple of Aminishi. However, there is a separate drop rate, an improved drop rate for solo players, and anybody who wants access to that improved drop rate and you're going solo, do not use the grouping system because it will count as you being a group of people and give you group drop rates even though you're only going by yourself. So if you are doing it solo, do not use the group system. The Temple of Aminishi offers a mini raid-like experience where you're traversing through different layers of the temple, fighting off a ton of mobs, occasional mini bosses, and even 3 new main bosses. There's a ton of new loot on offer as well, varying from Aminishi relics from the general mobs that can be alked or give invention components, onyx dust that when 100 are collected can be transmuted with a divination skill into an uncut onyx, chimes that you can spend in the Arc region shop, and a new stackable item that can combine with your Sirenic mask and chaps to upgrade them to tier 92 power armor. This is just the mask and chaps, however, the body will come at the end of the year with the 3rd elite dungeon. Bear in mind that this armor is degrade to dust and you'll have to make a new set when your charges run out. But being tier 92 power armor, it is now the new best armor in the game. On the last live stream on Friday, we were told that you needed to use a equipment separator on your tier 90 armor pieces and add the ancient scales, which is the item needed to upgrade the armor, to upgrade it to tier 92, meaning that you would lose obviously your perks because you separated the item, although you could just re-add them, and your item XP as well. This has caused a big uproar in the community. However, huge props to Mod Orion, because he has decided to come in over the weekend and do work on it, and has made it so you can add the scales to your tier 90 Sirenic chaps that is already augmented. However, you do need to have 95% or more item charge, and you can transfer the level and perks over to the new item. So credit where credit is due for taking the time to do that, Mod Orion. Keep in mind, like I said, you do need 95% charge or more, but this is not that much of a problem since an update previously was added that allows you to add charges from one tier 90 augmented set to another. So if you are below that 95% threshold, just get your hands on another augmented set of the armor, top your charges up, and then you'll be able to transfer those item XP and perks over to the new tier 92 set. Once again, thanks Mod Orion for putting in that work. It's going to be greatly appreciated, I'm sure of it. Aside from that, there's also a tier 82 War Spear that acts as halberd range from the 2nd boss. This will have greater damage than the Dragon Rider lance that we already see in game, however less accuracy. So it's a neat, interesting little niche on that weapon there. In addition to this, there's also a new Elite Dungeon Rewards shop on Demonheim, where you can unlock things like the ability to craft your own untradeable magic notepaper through the invention skill, and a permanent level boost when opening skill doors within Demonheim. On top of this, Aminishi has its own reward shop as well, where you can buy various cosmetics to deck your character, like the inhabitants of Aminishi, and an upgrade to the Death Lotus darts from ports, upgrading them to tier 88 weapons. Both shops will require dungeoneering tokens to purchase anything, and if you do have the elite dungeoneering outfit, it will reduce the cost of things in these shops. Aside from all these goodies and rare drops that you can get your hands on while doing the elite dungeons, the Temple of Aminishi, you'll also be getting yourself some dungeoneering XP for all the monsters that you kill, similar to XP that's rewarded when doing the Slayer skill. On top of this, any mini bosses you kill within the elite dungeon will also grant you dungeoneering tokens. Keep in mind though, however, the XP rates are not as good as you would expect from actually doing dungeoneering from Demonheim. JX has estimated this to be about 400k dungeoneering XP per hour, give or take your ability. Could be more, could be less, whereas normal Demonheim could see upwards of 1 mil an hour if you have a good team doing 5x5 dungeons. That being said, not to be confused with regular dungeoneering, you will be taking your own armor and weapons into the dungeons and not use up anything that's bound through the dungeoneering system. This also means that if you die, it is not a safe death, so any hardcore Iron Man tackling this content, keep that in mind before you go forward. This is not a safe death. In terms of difficulty, you can expect the boss fights to be somewhere around God Wars 2 bosses and Araxor, and that is with trio in mind. If you go solo, expect the fights to be far more difficult as the HP and the mechanics of the bosses are not scaled down if you're going by yourself. So check out solo mode if you're expecting a huge challenge. Although, as I said early in the video, if you do want to take up this challenge, you do have increased drop rates on all things on offer with the Temple of Aminishi, so it is worthwhile doing if you're capable of managing solo with this content. Now, the 3 bosses in the Temple of Aminishi are added to the Reaper, so they will be required for the Reaper title and subsequent comp cape, as well as Insane Final Boss and Final Boss. There is a bunch of lore on offer, and there is also a story mode for those of you who are not particularly versed in PvM. All monsters in story mode will have their HP cut in half and their damage output cut to 1/3, making it much easier if you're not particularly versed in the combat system to still get enriched with the lore and story of what's being delivered with the Temple of Aminishi. That being said, if you choose to do story mode, expect your XP rates and drop rates, etc. to be greatly hindered to compensate for the lack of difficulty. That being said, that's pretty much all you need to know before you get started with the Temple of Aminishi. Head on over there in the Arc region. If you've already completed the Impressing the Locals, you can use the Port Sarim Quartermaster to take you right to Aminishi. And I just want to wish a best of luck to everybody trying to take on these new monsters today. That being said, that concludes the main game update information. We're going to shift gears on over to the patch notes and see exactly what we've got going on over there. So let's go ahead and check it out. The Clockwork Cat will now recognize the Hide Familiar Options checkbox correctly. The track Thieves Guild 1 no longer incorrectly unlocks during the Prisoner of Glowfree quest. Burning Chompies now correctly add to existing stacks. Fixed an issue that stopped you from keepsaking a used superior Statius Warhammer. Corrected an issue in which crossing over 6 wasn't shown on the requirements for the final boss achievement. Switching between Legacy Interface and EOC will now be consistent with the Always Show Target Information checkbox. Block the ability to cast Alchemy and Disassemble on the free weapon given to you during the Heart of Stone quest. Reduce the cost of XP Scrimshaws from 10 Ancient Bones to 4. Reduce the cost of gathering Scrimshaws from 10 to 2. Added superior Scrimshaws of Sacrifice, Aggression, and Corruption to the Port's Scrimshaw Crafter. Tier 90 Sirenic Armor has received a visual update, and the Max Guild boss portal can be tuned to travel to elite dungeons. That is it for your patch notes as well as the main game update. Links to both of those will be down in the description below if you want to go ahead and check those out for yourself. Head on over there to do so. With that, I'm going to wrap up the video there. If you have enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed yet and you want to stay up to date on all things RuneScape related, then hit that subscribe button. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. I am out. Peace.